Hello everybody, welcome back to the 2023 Liverpool Pokemon Regional Championships. My name's Ben Kiriakou, joined here on the desk by Lou Akoshkromi, and we are here for our second top 8 match of this tournament.
Amazing. I mean, top 8 has already been shaping up to be a phenomenal one, and one for the history books. That was a fantastic set. Being able to watch it backstage was brilliant.
It really was. The little Palafin that could unfortunately didn't make it onto the next stage, but we saw Weiss coming through the Swiss rounds yesterday. We saw him talk about his team in a little bit more detail, talk about that yawn on Dondozo, and then use it to such great effect in the set in the top 8, showing why it's working and progressing onto the top 4.
I was also able to see our top 16 player we featured, Francesco Pardini, win his top 8 match, so he will be advancing to top 4 as well.
Yeah, so now we're going to be seeing the second top 8 match between Luca Paz and Giovanni Piscitelli. And I'm really looking forward to this match. Giovanni was a player that I saw play in yesterday's Swiss round to great effect. But I didn't manage to catch Luca's game, so I'm excited to see how Luca's going to be approaching this matchup.
Well, Luca's game was one I will certainly not forget in a hurry. Running that Dondozo Tatsugiri core, but Tatsugiri having a little trick up its sleeve in the form of that sleep talk. In the, situation where your Dondozo might get KO'd, Tatsugiri pops out, and then it gets put to sleep by that partner Amoonguss on the opposing side of the field. You want to be able to still be able to try and move by clicking that sleep talk button, and we talked it into existence. It happened on yesterday's broadcast, which I think was the perfect opportunity to show Case Luca and the creativity that he brings to his teams.
Right, and sometimes it's those fringe choices, those moves that you think, hang on a second, I could lose if I get into that position. What if I just, change things up a little bit, add a move that I'm not really likely to use that often, but in a pinch is perfect for the situation.
And taking a look at the accolades, Giovanni has been a runner-up in 2022 at Bremen Regionals. And speaking of runners-up, Luca has actually taken that to the international stage in the seniors division in 2019, both at Oceania and European international champions. So both of these players, being familiar with that second place runner-up finish, are definitely going to be trying to get the champion title today.
It definitely always feels good to sort of graduate up into for second place up to first place. The difference is monumental, both in terms of the accolade, but also the sense of achievement coming through here and being able to trust yourself that you can make it to the final stage of these sort of tournaments.
Exactly, and let's look at the Pokemon that our trainers are putting their trust into to try and take them all the way. Taking a look here at Giovanni's team, that Baxcalibur, King Gambit, Volcarona, Mimikyu, Tauros, the Aqua Brood variant, and Amoonguss. So a lot of Pokemon that we've seen already a lot throughout this tournament, but Baxcalibur being one that I think we expected to see more of.
And I think it's a really nice to see, for me at least, one of the Pokemon that I really enjoy watching in VGC because it has such flexibility in the way that it uses that Terra mechanic. Dragon and Ice is such a great offensive type to be able to take advantage of, especially bolstered by that loaded dice, making sure that Icicle Spear is hitting 4 or 5 times. You can play it, really defensively on your Terra type and be able to, attack a lot in succession to be able to get through all of your opponent's Pokemon.
I completely agree. My eye is drawn, however, to that Mimikyu. Now, Mimikyu being known as a Trick Room setter in days past. However, here we have got a very offensive variant. It's rocking that Life Orb as well, so it will take a little bit of recoil each time, but it's able to deal out heavy hits with Play Rough, Shadow Claw, which it gets from the same type attack bonus, and then also Shadow Sneak for that bit of priority. The one move I really like on there is the option of Taunt.
It is, and looks like quite a similar Mimikyu to what we saw winning the San Diego Regionals with Taunt instead of Protect on here. But we are going to be moving over to Luca's side of the field and seeing that Dondozo Tatsugiri combination. The sleep talk that you called out earlier there, Lou, was really monumental, of course, leading up to this stage. But we are seeing, and the thing that I'm excited to see is that Dragonite with the Assault Vest. We've seen quite a lot of Dragonite, especially in the early format, opt for really offensive play styles. But seeing it take a step back, use the inner focus ability rather than the multi-scale, and instead draw its bulk from that Assault Vest is a really nice way of playing it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Really like to see Dragonite making lots of changes. But let's jump into the game straight away. The action doesn't stop here. There is Pawmot and Dondozo out on the field against a Baxcalibur and Amoonguss.
Yeah, and that Dondozo looks like it's taking a nap already. The Amoonguss must have landed its spore into that slot. That's going to put a lot of pressure onto Luca's side of the field. Apologies for the delay there. Porbot, though, is going to be removing itself from the field.
Yeah, it is. And the Golden Go is going to join the action here, coming in for Luca. And this Golden Go is running that choice spec, so it's going to be hitting really powerfully as well. Tauros comes in as well for Giovanni, so lots of ball position shakes up very early on in this game one. Players wanting to make sure that they're in a more advantageous position. You can see as well the Golden Go had already taken some damage before we were able to join the match. It's going to have to take some more as Icicle Spear is coming up from the Excalibur. Thankfully, it's not going to be dealing too much damage, but can it get all the hits with that loaded dice?
4 is a guarantee, and it looks like 4 is what we will be seeing here. 5 may have put it into Ice Shard range there. Quite important distinction between 4 hits and 5 hits there, because now that Golden Go is going to be a threat, and Giovanni's going to have to think about how they target it with the Taurus or not, as the case may be. Also, depending on how these Golden Go and Taurus are trained, whether they're going for more speedy orientation or going to be trained to be a little bit more slower and take a few hits. Either way, whichever goes first out of those 2 Pokemon is going to decide the turn.
Yes, and we're unsure what sleep turn Dondozo is currently on, but it's an interesting situation where you've got it sleeping, you don't necessarily have to be too threatened by it, particularly when it hasn't fused with Tatsugiri. Now, if this is the Pokemon that's coming in, yes it is, now you are going to get all of those +2 boosts in all of the stats. So Dondozo in a prime position to start waking up. You know, if it can get the wake up on this turn, it's going to be able to go for something like an order up into that Excalibur, likely get the KO, and then get a boost for its troubles.
Right, and you know, with all of those stats increasing now, it's likely that the Dondozo's been asleep for a little while since we came in slightly into the game there. And of course, that Mirror Herb activation coming out from the Taurus. What a way to counter a Dondozo Tatsugiri combination. Not something I've actually seen on stream thus far. We've seen quite a few Mirror Herb Taurus coming out, but this is the first time I've seen that Mirror Herb going off.
Bringing it just for you here on the broadcast, Ben. We are going to see a switch having up though. Amoonguss is going to join the field here. Going to be able to apply some more pressure with redirection, possibly try and put this Dondozo back to sleep when it is able to wake up, which it has now done. It's going to be going for that Wave Crash, finding its target, I believe, down onto that Amoonguss that switched in that was previously the Excalibur. And now you're in this awkward situation where you're up against a Tauros that has also copied all the same GC boosts that Dondozo has got.
Yeah, and it's a little bit like one side and the other here, because that Taurus being effective in the Dondozo matchup typically is using the Intimidate to cycle around, making sure that Dondozo's not doing any damage, but now it doesn't want to switch out because it's used that Mirror Herb item and copied all the boosts. So the question is, how is this Dondozo trained? How is this Taurus trained? And how do those damage boosts stack up when they clash against each other?
Yes, and Terra types might be able to come into effect here. We actually do see the Tauros go for the Steel Terra here, so changing up its defensive capabilities. The issue is, offensively, it hasn't really got too much that's going to be able to hit this Dondozo. Yes, it can go for the close combat. It's not going to deal too much, and of course, it's going to take drops in its defense and special defense stat. It has got a couple spare, thanks to copying the Dondozo stat boosts, but when they start dropping, then you're going to be in a bit of a difficult situation. Dondozo as well has kind of gone, hey, I do not want to be put back to sleep, Amoonguss. I'm going to set a substitute using that speed advantage that I've got, and you're not going to be able to put me back to sleep.
Right, and some Dondozo opt for the Grass-type Terra to be able to deal with Pokemon like Amoonguss, and certainly the Steel-type Terra to be able to deal with things like Clear Smog as a way to remove boosts from the Dondozo. And Substitute is the other way that you deal with it. You make sure you don't take too much damage, and you block status.
Exactly, and as well, if Dondozo is running something like the Leftover, you can regain all of that HP that you lost, setting up that substitute, the 25% that you take away. Dondozo able to go for the order up here, finds this mark down on the Amoonguss, not enough to be able to get the KO, but it will be able to take that Juicy Sushi and get a cheeky attack boost as well.
Yeah, the curly form there, raising the attack of the Dondozo, making sure that that Intimidate drop isn't going to be as effective. And I really like this way of building the Dondozo sets. We've seen the curly form being used more typically in the early form of the metagame. In San Diego, we saw stretchy form boosting that speed with the order up be the order of the day, so to speak. But now coming back to that sort of curly form, it's a little bit of a revolving metagame here where the different types of Pokemon are able to do different things. But that's going to neuter the Intimidate coming out from that Taurus and make sure this Dondozo stays relevant.
Yes, and Baxcalibur's going to join the field here. A little bit risky considering Order Up has, been going down into that opposing Amoonguss slot. Close Combat's going to come out once again from this opposing Tauros. It's going to be now back down to, I believe, to neutral on its defenses that it, stole those boosts from Dondozo previously. But Dondozo's substitute also breaks, so it's now a little bit more exposed going forward. It's either going to have to set up another substitute to hide behind it or find a way to get KOs. And Order Up is one way to try and do it, but Baxcalibur using its bulk to be able to survive that attack.
Right, and this is a little bit of an uphill battle here for Giovanni because, that close combat is not really doing too much damage, even with all the boost that the Tauros has accumulated from that Mirror Herd. And in previous sets, we've seen these Baxcaliburs be able to do quite a lot of work to a Dragon-type Terra Dondozo. Not the case here.
Yeah, well, Tauros is going to go for the Wave Crash. Connecting into Dondozo, really doing very little damage, and this is one of those situations, you've got all the stat boost, that sounds amazing. However, if you can't deal out the damage, then they're a little bit null and void, and Tauros going to be knocked out due to the Wave Crash on the opposing Dondozo that's been able to keep all of its stat boost. Tauros was throwing them away with those close combats. They're going to leave itself very, very vulnerable.
Right, and as I was saying before, it's a difficult way to, difficult sort of matchup here. It looks like for Giovanni a little bit uphill because of the way that Luca has decided to use their Dondozo. That substitute in combination with the attack boosting Order Up, nullifying the Intimidates, making sure that the Amoonguss isn't going to be able to target it easily, and also not going for a Terra type and allowing Baxcalibur to do super effective damage.
Exactly, and the issue as well, if you're Luca, you've got this Dondozo, it's in a great spot, but again, that Amoonguss is on the field, you're going to have to try and set up a substitute to work around that Spore. The one issue I always see with Dondozo is you can never switch it out. You're kind of stuck with it. You have to play through and commit to this game here. And Dondozo is going to go for the Order Up into the back Swallow. Easy gets the KO on it and will, of course, get that boost as well.
Yeah, and I really like this play here from Luca, making sure that if the Amoonguss redirects the attack onto the Baxcalibur, then it's probably going to be taking a lot of damage. If the Baxcalibur does go for an attack and a Spore, as we're seeing here, going into the Dondozo, then the Baxcalibur is going to be knocked out. That's a big threat to Luca here that you really want to be able to remove because the Amoonguss, unfortunately, try as it might, it is probably not going to be able to dispatch that Dondozo.
Exactly, and one thing I love is we just got a cheeky peek on Luca's trainer card there, and there was the Dondozo in prime place as well, kind of showing that it's a key feature here for Luca. And, unfortunately we didn't get to see the beginning part of the match, but, coming through towards the end, I think Dondozo bringing it in that late game, making sure that even though it was sleeping, you didn't switch it out. You allowed it to sit on the field and go through those sleep turns, because eventually after those 3 guaranteed turns, it will wake up. Then you're possibly in a position to go for that Dondozo combination and start cleaning through the game. And the one thing I liked as well when we look at the Pokemon counts, Luca had a lot of Pokemon still in the back. So even if things had taken maybe a difficult turn on Giovanni's side, then Luca still had some utility in the back to try and deal with it. Exactly
that, and we'll have to see how they adjust for Game 2, because really looking at these team compositions, I'd like to see the clear smog that's on the Amoonguss come into play here. I think there was an opportunity maybe for that to come out a little bit earlier in the game. You do have to worry about that substitute, but if you've got something like the Tauros that's copied all of the boosts, may be able to knock out that substitute and allow the clear smog to go into that Dondozo, that Tauros is actually going to start doing damage.
That's the issue you have with that Tauros, though. It's a really cool mechanic going for Mirror Herb, copying all the stats, but then what are you going to do with them? And you really then kind of rely on your partner Pokemon when you're against a Dondozo in that 2 versus 1 situation to deal with the Dondozo, and you kind of want to keep the Tauros safe so that when Dondozo's out of the way and your opponent is forced to bring in these other Pokemon, your +2 boosted in all stats Tauros is going to be able to clean up. Right.
A clever play here as well from Luca in that set not to go for their Terra. It is in fact the Dragon Terra on the Dondozo, so would have made it a little bit weaker to the Baxcalibur on Giovanni's side of the field. So clever play there. We saw that in the finals of San Diego where Chopper went for the Terra Dragon on on the Dondozo, and was really under threat from Baxcalibur. So seeing that, and these players I'm sure have seen that match, would have had experience of that, and that's coming out as an adaptation to the previous regionals.
Well, speaking of adaptations, Ben, Giovanni is shaking things up in Game 2. Volcarona and Mimikyu are out on the field with Golden Go and Dondozo straight out of the blocks for Luca.
And like the Mimikyu positioning here, able to put a lot of pressure on that Golden Go, but there is always the risk that the Golden Go is going to be able to switch out to that Tatsugiri, and of course would mean that any attacks into that slot would be avoided. So a lot of mind games coming out here. Volcarona on Giovanni's side of the field is that Quiver Dance set. So we've seen that before coming out, but Dondozo does have access to Wave Crash. So, you know, it's a real risk setting up that Quiver Dance in front of something that could just switch out, where the Golden Go could just switch out to Tatsugiri and put that pressure on.
Well, you said it, Ben. There's Tatsugiri coming into the fray, so we're going to see the Dondozo combination very early on in this game too. I mean, the Volcarona, I'm taking a look at it, is running that Water Terror type. That could always be a way to kind of disrupt some of the damage that Dondozo is able to deal out here. But you got to keep an eye on that Mimikyu as well. It is the offensive variant with that Life Orb, and you can see Dondozo getting all of its boosts, and it's able to now utilize these and go for a powerful Wave Crash into the Volcarona. It's going to get the one-hit KO. Volcarona just sitting there so vulnerable and brave in the face of Dondozo, but it just wasn't to be. Yeah,
Luca taking a big swing here and actually really getting the payoff there. Taunt coming into the Dondozo is going to be able to stop that substitute. So if the Amoonguss comes in for Giovanni's side of the field, is going to be able to easily get a Clear Smog going, get another Spore going, probably Spore and then Clear Smog is the order that you'd like to see that particular combination of moves going off. And if this Mimikyu is able to protect itself in combination with, you know, the disguise ability that it has, it's probably going to start to be able to do a little bit of damage to this Dondozo.
Well, this is Amoonguss's moment right now. The Mimikyu is going to have its disguise broken here, and it's going to be able to, you know, go for some things into that Dondozo. But the key thing here is going to be the Amoonguss. Like you said, Ben, it can now go for a Spore. It can put that Dondozo to sleep because it's not able to go for the substitute. And then we know that the Amoonguss is also running Clear Smog. So in the following turn, when this Dondozo is guaranteed to take a turn of sleep, it's going to lose all of those amazing stats. And this is a really nice play by Giovanni of trying to weaken this Dondozo, make it much easier to take down compared to game one.
Right, and something that's a really nice little mechanic here, the Mimikyu would be going before the Amoonguss, so wouldn't be able to take the benefit of that Clear Smog in this turn, but this is a perfect opportunity to get that Taurus, if it is in the back for Giovanni, into the field, steal the boost, and then remove them straight away from the Dondozo. I think that might be what we're seeing. I'm quite excited to see if I'm right here. Oh, it's that Baxcalibur.
Yeah, Baxcalibur's joining the field here instead, you know, making it a prime opportunity for Baxcalibur to maybe try and get some damage against this Dondozo. Clear Smog coming down into the opposing Dondozo, removing all of those amazing stats that Dondozo loves to have. Of course, it's still going to have his leftovers. It can get a little bit of HP back. But now you're in a position, if you're Giovanni, where Dondozo's asleep. Your Amoonguss can, you know, it can just go for some pollen puffs. It can just try and chip away a little bit more at it. And then on Baxcalibur's side of things, you know, it is running predominantly, well, yeah, Ice and Dragon type moves, which aren't known for being amazing against Dondozo, but Glaive Rush being so powerful might be enough to be able to deal some good damage. And even though with Glaive Rush in between, you're then a lot more vulnerable. You know, it does so much damage. It does mean, however, you're now at risk in the next turn of taking double damage yourself. You've got Amoonguss, your little friend here, helping you out. I can redirect attacks. Don't you worry about Excalibur. I got this.
He has got this indeed. The Glaive Rush doing loads of damage actually to the Dondozo, definitely putting it in range of another Glaive Rush. Dondozo not waking up this turn, so the Amoonguss very safe to go for another redirection and make sure this Baxcalibur can go for the Glaive Rush. But after taking all of those boosts away, Dondozo is no longer speedy, and the Glaive Rush is able to attack into that Dondozo, picking up the KO. Tatsugiri pops out of Dondozo and is able to be launching out the Spore into the Tatsugiri, putting it to sleep on a turn it's most vulnerable.
Yes, that's true, but Tatsugiri may have the last laugh because it has access to that sleep talk on Luca's side. So the fact that it's asleep means that it's not necessarily out at this point. It can go for sleep talk, it can go for some moves here. Possibly, you know, taking a look at some of the options, Draco Media would be great going down into that opposing Baxcalibur, just trying removing it from the fray. One thing you probably don't want to be clicking at this point if you're Tatsugiri is that Muddy Water. It's not going to do too much to either of these opposing Pokemon. A Pokemon, however, that can do some serious damage is the Golden Go, rocking those choice specs that has now just come in for Luca.
And that's going to be pretty influential in this turn. Golden Go immune to all of the effects of that Amoonguss. Tatsugiri, though, swapping out, not going for that Sleep Talk that we know is an option for it. Instead, bringing in that Pawmot, and I quite like this because there is the option here to go for that Revival Blessing. If it's able to survive the turn, Icicle Spear would be a little bit problematic, I think, for that Pawmot on the switch-in. We'll have to see how that shakes up. But the Golden Go going for its Terra is going to be that Terra Steel, going to be launching some serious damage into Giovanni's side of the field.
Yeah, it could really make it rain all over Giovanni's parade here. So Giovanni, I think, wisely going for a Terra of his very own. Going to be Terra Steel onto that Excalibur. That's going to be able to really resist any of the Make It Rain Steel type move that could come out here from the Golden Go, which we can see that Luca has indeed gone for. It's going to be powerful. It's going to be strong. It nearly actually gets a one-hit KO on both Pokemon, but not quite. You almost needed a cheeky helping hand to help out there a little bit. Pawmot, however, certainly going to be in a difficult spot.
Ooh.
Here comes the Icicle Spear. That's 3 times.
4 times, and it's nearly in range. Oh, a critical hit on the last one. Oh my God. Guaranteeing the KO. If that Icicle Spear only hit 4 times, it was likely that the Pawmot was going to be able to survive the turn. A follow-up there with Pollen Puff. Could have been targeting into the Pawmot slot just to make sure, especially with that Focus Sash on the Pawmot, you just want to make sure you're doing as many attacks as you can into it. But yeah, Tatsugiri coming back onto the field, going to be forced, I think, to go for that Sleep Talk, which at this stage of the game when you can't switch out is a little bit of a risk because what happens when you wake up?
That's true. I mean, the one good thing you've got is Golden Go can go for Make It Rain once again, and with the low HP of both the opposing Pokemon on Giovanni's side, it's going to be able to get the KO against them. The issue is going to be that Mimikyu coming in the back. You need to make sure that you've got enough energy in the tank on your special attack from Golden Go's perspective to be able to try and pick up the KO. But Tatsugiri with that Choice Scarf is there resting. Make It Rain is going to come out with the Golden Go. Obviously, it's only going to connect down on the opposing Amoonguss here. I think Excalibur very wise to go for the Protect here. That would have been a nice KO against it. And I think you're right. From Luca's perspective, you know, you don't want to click Sleep Talk and that be the turn you wake up because you know, you're not going to be able to do anything. So Luca might be able to rely on the fact that the choice specs on Golden Go allow it to be extra powerful at this point. It can maybe try and deal with things while Tatsugiri takes those turns of sleep that we're more used to seeing, you know, when you don't have Sleep Talk activated, to try and get a move off when it wakes up.
Right, and, you know, actually quite a nice position here for Luca. The Ice Shard going into Golden Go, doing a little bit of damage, but that Make It Rain, even at 2 stages of decreased special attack, is probably going to be enough to knock out that Excalibur in 1. Shadow Claw following up from the Mimikyu, doing quite a lot of damage. Actually, maybe a KO, in range of a KO next turn. Make It Rain, though, coming out. He's going to be able to knock out the Excalibur, and the Mimikyu goes down as well. The winner in this top 8 round is Luca Paz, taking the set 2-0.
Yeah, Golden Go being in the back really was the hero there. Fantastic coming in and getting those critical KOs with Make It Rain. Of course, the disguise on Mimikyu being broken earlier in that game was critical because Mimikyu could come in and there was not a lot it could do. No,
not at all. And we saw quite an interesting game there with that Dondozo.
Yes.
You know, the first game, it looked like it could just keep the boosts, the Mirror Herb on Taurus, on Giovanni's side of the field, not being as effective as maybe he would have liked to have. But then in the second game, it lost its boosts, but it still did enough.
Yes, and I mean, I was a little bit nervous of that Amoonguss, I'm going to be honest. The fact that it could go for Spore and then go for the Clear Smog, and things just look to be a little bit, you know, difficult because Dondozo's just sitting there. It's going to have to take all of these attacks.
Right.
But actually, the best thing for Dondozo was to go down.
Yeah.
Allow Tatsugiri to come out and still have the utility to go with that Sleep Talk. But the critical thing was you removed that 1 versus 2 situation that you get with Dondozo, because I think Luca needed to make sure that he had 2 Pokemon on the field, and that's really what worked out there.
Right, exactly. So a great play there from both players. We really need to talk to Luca about that game because it was fantastic to watch. Really commanding fashion, taking that win and using Dondozo to great effect. So we're going to be going to a short break now. We'll be back very shortly with a winner's interview from Luca Paz. Hello everybody, welcome back to the 2023 Liverpool Pokemon Regional Championships. My name's Ben Kiriakou, joined here on the desk by Luca Paz, the winner of that top 8 round. And you're going to be going into top 4. Congratulations, how are you feeling?
Thank you. I'm really excited. For first time top 4 Master Regional at the London Open. I only reached top 8, and at San Diego, I didn't make cut. So I'm really happy about that.
That's really great to hear. So, how did San Diego go for you? You had a good first regional appearance. Was it good to be able to test your team and come up with ideas as to how you want to adapt to it coming into Liverpool?
Yeah, definitely. San Diego, I went 7-3 and just barely missed top 64 CP. And I'm using the same team pretty much as I did there. I found a few things that I wanted to tweak, like my moves on Dondozo and Tatsugiri and Dragonite. Dragonite didn't end up coming, but I think the changes I made on Dondozo really helped me out on this set.
And Dondozo is actually something I really wanted to talk to you about, because looking at Giovanni's team, he seemed well equipped to be able to deal with that Mirror Herb on the Taurus, as well as Clear Smog on the Amoonguss, but you still managed to bring Dondozo to both games of that set, and it worked out for you. So how did you feel going into that match?
So for starters, I have Substitute on Dondozo, so I feel like that's pretty much negates Amoonguss, and if I can get Dondozo boosted with a Substitute, the Tauros having Mirror Herb doesn't matter because of Unaware, and it's dealing pretty much no damage, and it has to take 2 hits to break my Substitute, where I could just spam Order Up and kill like something other than the Tauros.
Right, so yeah, using basically Dondozo's ability against the Taurus, great for the opposing Taurus to be able to hit something else on the field, but hey, it's only Dondozo that's going to be hit, right?
Yeah.
That's great to hear. So, you know, looking forward to maybe Series 2 that's coming up, are you going to be competing in, looking to compete in other regionals and play the new metagame with the Paradox Pokemon joining in as well?
Yeah, I'm going to Orlando in 2 weeks, and I haven't played like a single game of Series 2 yet, so I still need to figure that out pretty much. Yeah.
Lots of stuff to learn there, I'm sure. Reaching top 4 is a fantastic achievement, and as you said, this is the highest placement that you've managed to get so far in the regional championships. Are there any shout-outs to anyone that you want to that's given you a little bit of help, friends or family, along the way?
Yeah, shout out to Team Z, Copers, my Winter League team, everyone else who's pretty much supported me and has kept me motivated.
That's great to hear. Luca, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations again on reaching the top 4. We'll be looking out for you in the next match, but we're going to let you go for a little bit of a break, compose yourself, ready for top 4 match. So for everybody watching back at home, we're going to be going to another short break where we'll be starting to whittle it down to our top 4 competitors still in the tournament. So stay tuned. We'll be right back very soon.